Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. Got you covered. Traditional leagues, dynasty league, PPR league, IDP league, even daily fantasy football league. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast. And today we are talking sleepers, running back sleepers. That's right. Today we're going to talk about when everyone is, when you're going through, you got to have that running game. And I tell the story about how last year I drafted Le'Veon Bell and he went down early, and it ended up affecting my entire season. So don't let this happen to you. You need to know who are those guys that you want to reach out and get and draft them late in your draft, put them in your locker, let them chill for a little bit, and wait later on in the season. These are the guys that could change your entire season. These are the guys that you can get late but will pay huge, huge dividends. So what we're talking about is fantasy football running back sleepers. When we come back, we'll start touching on, we're going to touch on the top 10 fantasy football running back sleepers. Stay tuned.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Okay, we're back. And we're talking about running backs, and we're talking about running back sleepers. In the last episode, we talked about our top 10 running backs that you have to have. These are the guys that are going to, that everyone knows are going to be the guys that are supposed to make things happen. That's the Adrian Petersons of the world, the Todd Gurleys of the world, the Ezekiel Elliott's of the world, the Jamal Charles of the world. These running backs, they've done it for a long time. Other than Ezekiel Elliott, they've done it for a while. They're proven they can make it happen. Well, these next running backs I'm going to talk to you about, they're not on any list as far as must-have running backs in the league. But these are running backs that you can get really late and can change your team and possibly win you a championship. Because let me tell you this, if you can go out and draft you like last year, a Devontae Freeman or Todd Gurley or David Johnson late in the draft, these guys would have won you championships last year. These guys changed the entire face of the fantasy football season. You can be that guy who is struggling, but if you hit a home run with a top flight running back that no one else saw, your fortunes will change. And that's kind of what happened last year in our fantasy league, where I had the best draft and I ended up with the best record. But when the playoffs hit, I ended up running into a guy who had a couple guys like Devontae Freeman and Todd Gurley who were not seen on the radar as you must draft these guys early. But they picked them up, they hit home runs, and in the end, even though I had the best record in the league, I was sitting on the sidelines watching somebody else raise that championship trophy. Well, that's not happening this year, boys and girls. I'm going to let you guys know my little secret. Who are my fantasy football little gold nuggets that's going to pay off huge dividends this year? And I'm going to start off with number 10. And number 10 is Terrance West. Now, it was a tie. It was kind of a battle between number 10. Number 10 was coming from the exact same team. That was Terrance West and Kenneth Dixon. These are two guys that I was really looking at that I thought could really have a spectacular season. They're two guys that are definitely not on the radar. The Baltimore Ravens, they're a tough team. I'm not expecting a lot from them because they've gotten to be an older team. But with a couple of little fortunes here and there, things could change for the Baltimore Ravens really fast. If one of these guys hit, and right now, these guys are just battling for who's going to be the backup. But if Dorsett goes down, there's going to be a different situation at starting running back for the Baltimore Ravens. And so you have a situation where you have a nice young core of running backs that could really make things happen. These guys are, the Ravens have the running backs, nice young running backs that, can really fill in as they get adjusted to the NFL. They have Justin Forsett, who is really set in to be the starter. But Justin Forsett is an older running back, guys. And you don't know what you're going to get. You got to worry about injuries. You got to worry about the big drop-off. And both of these guys could really step in to really take over at the running back position. So with that, that's why these guys are both they're tied for number 10. It just depends on who gets the number 2 and 3 slot. But both of these guys have major potential. Now, here is my number 9 guy. That's Duke Johnson for the Cleveland Browns. And I know what everybody is thinking. I'm not drafting anybody that has Cleveland on the side of the helmet. But Duke Johnson is that guy. He's a really talented running back, guys. And the Browns are doing things right now. They're making smart draft picks. They're trying to make things happen. I don't expect a lot of things majorly to happen for the Browns this year, but I think they're moving in the right direction. But the Browns are one of those teams where they went out, they got RG3, which a lot of people aren't that excited about. But I tell you what, if they hit lightning in the bottle and they get RG3 working properly, they went out, they got Josh Gordon, who's coming back. And if Josh Gordon can get back to his former self and stay clean, he's a factor. They drafted 3 really solid wide receivers. The Browns could actually make major strides, which then, and especially if RG3 is doing well, the wide receivers are doing well, that's going to open up a lot for Duke Johnson. Don't be surprised if later in the season, I don't expect the Browns to win, even come sniff the playoffs, even bat an eyelash at the playoff. But I will tell you this, later in the season as this team comes together, I could see Duke Johnson making some noise. And he's a guy that you could get really late in the draft. He's a guy that you can sit him on the bench. You don't have to play him early. But when he hits, he's a guy that can change your team and change your season. For that, my number 9 guy is Duke Johnson. Now, my number 8 guy, as I look through, is another gentleman who, I'm not. He's going to be a guy that you're going to have to hold on and keep the faith. Keep the faith there, and that's C.J. Posey for the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, there's no more Marshawn Lynch there, and So the Seahawks are going to have to figure out what they're going to do with the running back situation. And I think they have everything figured out as far as what they plan on doing with the running back situation. But with all running backs, you never know what the situation what may happen here. And this is one of those situations where, like, Thomas Rose is that guy who they're expecting to be a star and fill in, but now Thomas Rose isn't that guy. He has to carry the load. It's not like he just has to play a few games while Marshawn Lynch is down. It's a big difference. And you're the man, and you're carrying the ball every single game, 15, 20 times every game. That's a situation where injuries can happen. And if it happens, Posey is that guy. That can really jump in, and he can catch lightning in the bottle. He's a rocket out there, guys. He's that guy that out of nowhere, he's a speedster. He's lightning fast. Keep him. Put him. I mean, if you're drafting a Seahawk running back, you want to keep him as your handcuff, because if an injury happens, he's that guy that can change everything. Literally, can change your season. Now, I'm going to look at my number 7 guy, and that's Tevin Coleman for Atlanta Falcons. First off, Devontae Freeman was supposed to be the starter. He lost his starting job last year to Coleman. Then Freeman kind of caught fire, and he got the starting job back. But for some reason, I still don't feel like Atlanta is sold on Devontae Freeman. And I feel like they really want to keep that they would like to give the keys to the car to Coleman. And if Devontae Freeman has an injury or he starts off slow, don't be surprised if they do not, I repeat, do not pull the keys from Devontae Freeman and give it to Coleman. When he was a rookie, he averaged 4.5 yards a carry. That's starting running back material there. He's a guy that, he actually averaged more yards per carry than Devontae Freeman. I think Devontae Freeman was like 3.2 yards. So he's a big play guy. He can make it happen. Coleman is that guy, especially with the way the team is set. If things start going south, I could see them making a change. Now, my number 6 guy is Charles Sims of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know that Doug Martin had a big year, and it was a contract year and things, but he's Mr. Inconsistent. Doug Martin will have a great year, then he'll have an off year. Which Doug Martin are we going to get this year? Will Doug Martin stay healthy? When you're thinking about running backs, this is that guy that if an injury happens, which you do not want an injury to happen, but if an injury happens, he's that guy that could sub in and be a star. And he's actually played before and has had a really good year and had some really good, great performances. So Charles Sims is that guy from Tampa, especially with the quarterback situation, where I think they're going to give the keys a little bit more. And so I could see a situation where if something happens to Doug Martin or Doug Martin's not performing, they're going to give the keys to Charles Sims, and he's going to make things happen. All right. So we've gone through and we've talked about we're talking about our top 10 running back sleepers. And the people that I've talked about is first off is Kenneth Dixon and Terrance West of the Baltimore Ravens and how they could do. We talked about Duke Johnson. We talked about Travis Coleman. And then we talked about CJ Prosise. And then last, we talked about Charles Sims. Next, When we come back, we're going to talk about the top 5 fantasy football running back sleepers. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching.
Hey!
The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, we're back, and we're talking about running back sleepers. And we've covered our number 10 through 5. Now we're going to talk about the guys that you should definitely consider picking up. These are those guys that you can pick up, put them on your bench, you can draft them late, but they can have major impact on your fantasy football team. And my number 5 guy is Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry is my number 5 guy for the Tennessee Titans. And the reason why that is DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray is the starting running back for the Tennessee Titans. And I don't really know how many more miles does DeMarco Murray have. He has not been the same since Dallas ran him almost to the ground. I'm not convinced that DeMarco Murray will ever be the same. And with that, you could have a situation where Derrick Henry gets in there and he could steal some carries and eventually steal that job. I would not take that's DeMarco Murray's that guy that I do not want to trust with my fantasy football life, strictly because there's too many miles, too many injuries, and you have a hungry young running back behind him. With that, I am definitely concerned about him. And this guy, he's young, he's fast, he's hard, he's that guy that could really make a huge change in the fantasy football world. Keep an eye on this guy. He is worth drafting. If you already have your 1 and 2 running back already secure, this is a guy that you may want to take a flyer on. Or if you've drafted DeMarco Murray, 100%. If DeMarco Murray is on your team, then Derrick Henry is the very first backup guy you're taking. You want to have him. So don't forget this. If you draft DeMarco Murray, you go out and you get you, by hook or by crook, you go get you Derrick Henry, because he's that guy that could steal the job, and you do not want to sit there with a draft pick that you drafted DeMarco Murray and he's injured, or he's not performing and he's benched, and you're trying to decide, do I keep him or do I cut him? Well, if you have Derrick Henry as your backup, you're covered. My number 4 guy is a gentleman that I think is going to be a good starter. He's that guy that you could actually play week 1. This is Rashad Jennings for the New York Giants. The Giants are going to be a different team. This is not Tom Coughlin's conservative offense any longer. So you're going to have Eli Manning, which I think is going to be a much improved quarterback, and you're also going to have a much more balanced attack where they're not loading up the box, or they're not so predictable. Tom Coughlin's offense was very predictable. This is going to be a different Giants team. I think he's one of those guys that should be, he's your number 2 running back on your team. You can make him your starter. You can play him some games right out the gate and get some good results from him. So he's that guy, and you know what? Not only can you get some good results from him, he could actually be a star in this league. So make sure he's on your radar as a guy that you want to pick up. Now we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about Melvin Gordon for the San Diego Chargers. Now Gordon was expected to have a pretty darn big year last year, but he had a rough rookie year, ended up on the injured reserve, and no one really got to see what kind of guy this is. Well, guess what? He's back. He's healthy. He's ready to roll. And he's one of those guys that everyone's forgot about, but he's a guy that I haven't forgot about. He's that guy that you want to get on your team that's going to he's going to get the ball. San Diego's going to be a much improved team because, you'll have the Denver defense, but there's no Peyton Manning. You're not sure what's going to happen with the quarterback situation there. The Raiders are going to be a little more improved, but right now it's San Diego and Kansas City's league, I think, division that is. And so I could see where Melvin Gordon is that guy you could draft, and he could actually start paying off huge dividends right out the gate. Next, we're going to touch on a guy that is not on anyone's radar, and that's Karlos Williams for the Buffalo Bills. Now, the first thing you're going to say is LeSean McCoy. Well, it depends on what happens with LeSean McCoy. LeSean McCoy, as long as he stays healthy and he's running, I could see a situation where LeSean McCoy could easily be the number one running back in the NFL. But if it doesn't happen that way and injuries kick in or something along those lines, there's a scenario there where Karlos Williams, if he gets a shot, he's going to make things happen. Secondly, there's going to be a situation where the Buffalo Bills are going to run the ball, and they're going to run it a lot. And the one thing that's going to happen here is this. There's going to be a lot of extra carries that Williams is going to get. He's going to get goal line carries. He's going to get a lot of carries that a lot of people are not expecting him to get. He's a guy that can really produce huge results for you. He's also the guy that if an injury happens to LeSean McCoy, he's a guy that could be a workhorse on that team. He's a guy that this is the guy that you're rolling the dice on, but has the largest upside of anyone in as far as on this list. Okay, now when we come back, we're going to touch on who is our number one sleeper. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and now we're back. And we've gone through and we're giving our top running back sleepers. These are the guys that if you draft these guys and you hold on to them, these guys could be your blue chip stock here. These are the guys that could change your season. We went from, Terrance Williams and Keith Dixon from the Ravens, where, you have Forsett, who could easily end up getting replaced as a starter, especially if Baltimore starts off a little slow. You got Duke Johnson, which a lot of people aren't expecting Duke Johnson to do much, but the Browns could surprise people later in the season. I think as they come together, I think you have a situation where Duke Johnson could be that guy who kind of keeps them in the games, keeps things a little close. I think he could put up some good yards. I definitely look at Duke Johnson as a 1,000-yard running back. And that's kind of surprising to say. Number 8 we're talking about is Tevin Coleman. And Coleman is that guy where a lot of people are not really that keen on Devontae Freeman. And Coleman could be that guy that could really slide in there and actually take that starting job from Devontae Freeman, or even split carries with him. So he's one of those guys for Atlanta Falcons. There's another gentleman out of for the Seattle Seahawks, which is CJ Posey, who I think where he's that guy that you could have a situation where, as they're trying to figure out who's going to be their running back, the Seattle Seahawks could easily have a situation where CJ becomes their guy. And I really like him because he's a speedster. He can deliver that home run ball that the Seattle Seahawks are looking for. Number 6, I was looking at Charles Sims. Charles Sims is a guy where he's proven that he can run the ball in the NFL. Doug Martin can be hot and cold, and they have pulled the ball from Doug Martin in the past. I would not be surprised if Charles Sims did not get another shot at the game. And so for that, I made him my number 6. Number 5, I have Rashad Jennings. And Rashad Jennings is that guy I think that's going to be right out the gate, a guy that's going to be much improved. Tom Coughlin is no longer there. It's not going to be that very conservative type offense that Tom Coughlin is famous for. I think Eli's going to have a big step up, and I also think Rashad Jennings is going to have a big step up. So with that, he's a guy that I really think people should really consider. Another guy we talked about for the Tennessee Titans is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a guy that is a very strong runner, and with DeMarco Murray being there, and not really, let's face it, he did not have a great year last year. And the question is, did he leave it all on the field in Dallas, or was it just a bad year? Well, if he left it all on the field in Dallas, Derrick Henry could step in there and become the new man there. And so that's why we have him at number 4. Number 3, we have Melvin Gordon, a rookie who a lot of people were excited about, but then he ended up getting injured, got put on injured reserve. Well, he's back, and he's ready to roll. It's a much easier division this year. I could see a situation where San Diego could be a surprise team, and Gordon could be a big part of that surprise. Number 2 is Karlos Williams, where you got LaShawn McCoy, but you're on a team where the running game is major, and they're going to give the ball all day to LaShawn McCoy, and they're going to give it to Karlos Williams. But if LaShawn McCoy goes down, Williams is that guy that not only can step up, but he can be a workhorse, and he could really come out of here and be a superstar. And so that's the reason we have him at number 2. Our number 1 running back is going to surprise some people. That's out of Detroit Lions. That's Ameer Abdullah. And last year was his rookie year, and sometimes it takes a little adjustment to get adjusted to the NFL. College is not the NFL, and sometimes things that you got away with in college where you can make that extra cut, you can stutter step your feet, and a guy will fall for it. You got sometimes a running back has to learn. You make that one cut and you go. Well, I mean, if you look at what kind of where Ameer Abdullah went last year, it wasn't spectacular, but he showed strides of improvement. He had a 4.2 yards per carry run toward the end of the season. He's that guy where you could actually still draft him very late because there's not a lot of people that even wanted to draft him at all. But he's going to be the man. He's going to get the ball. He's that every down back that's going to be there. When there's not a lot of every down backs, there's not going to be, a running back by committee in Detroit. It's going to be Abdullah. And I think he's ready. He had his rough rookie campaign, but now he's ready to go. He's a guy that you can draft and can give out some real dividends early and often. He's one of those guys where, even if you get late and you go too heavy on wide receivers, but you need a starting running back, you could actually draft him and put him in your lineup, and he can make things happen. There's only a few guys late in this that you can actually start right out the gate. Ameer Abdullah was one of them. I would even say Melvin Gordon is another one that you could get and put him in your lineup and get real dividends. And Rashad Jennings. These three guys, you can make them your starting running backs from the start of the season, especially if you went very heavy on wide receiver. These guys can make it happen for you. But this concludes our our running back sleeper for the 2017 draft. When you're thinking about drafting, always have you a couple sleepers on the bench, because that's the difference between the champions and the contenders. If you hit on one of these guys, it changes your whole lineup, because then if one of these guys take off, you got a number 1 or number 2 round draft pick, but you got him in the 10th or the 11th round, and that's just fantasy football gold. With that, I'm out. I'm Tate, your host. Remember, you can always visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. You can also go to Facebook and Twitter. We're always there. We're always willing to respond to our listeners. And you can download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Or you can go to any app that actually actually gives you a podcast. Thank you, and good night.